The strange signal in deep space. Captain Jackson Reed sat alone in the control chair of his ship, the Midnight Ray. Stars glowed outside the window like cold fireflies. Deep space was quiet. Too quiet. He sipped his recycled coffee and stared at the dark monitor. This part of the galaxy was called the Delta 9 Void, a place no one visited. It was marked off-limits by the United Space Command. Too many ships had vanished here. Jackson didn't believe in ghost stories, but he believed in signals, and tonight he was chasing one. His computer screen blinked. Computer voice. Unregistered distress signal detected. Origin unknown. Coordinates locked. Jackson frowned. Where's it coming from? Computer voice. Directly ahead. Estimated. Distance 1.2 light minutes, and that close? He whispered. He looked at the signal code. It wasn't human. It wasn't from any known species either. The frequency pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Something about it felt wrong, but curiosity was stronger than fear. He pushed a few buttons. Engaging autopilot. Bring us closer. The engines hummed. Outside, space stretched like a black sea. Ahead, a small object floated in the dark. As the ship got closer, Jackson saw it. An old, damaged escape pod. Half-burned, spinning slowly. A single blue light blinked on its side. He scanned it. Computer voice. Life signs detected. One individual. Status. Weak but alive. Jackson's heart beat faster. Bring it in, he ordered. Metal arms reached out from the ship and pulled the pod into the cargo bay. The airlock hissed as pressure equalized. Jackson put on his light armor and walked to the bay. The escape pod door was jammed. He forced it open with a crowbar. A soft thud. A body fell forward into his arms. She was light. Almost too light. Her skin was pale blue, glowing slightly under the ship's lights. Her hair shimmered like silver threads. Her clothes were torn, burned in places. But her face, it was peaceful, almost human. Jackson stared, shocked. An alien girl. Suddenly her eyes opened, bright violet, glowing in the dim light. She gasped and tried to sit up, but her arms were too weak. Whoa, take it easy, Jackson said, holding her gently. You're safe now. Safe, she repeated. Her voice was soft, trembling. Then she grabbed his arm. Please, don't take me back to them, she whispered. Please, I'm begging you. Jackson blinked. Back to who? They'll find me, she said, eyes wide with fear. They always find me. He stood up and called the medbot to scan her. Computer voice. Foreign body detected, possible internal tech. Jackson looked at her. What's inside you? She didn't answer. Instead, she looked around, panicked. Then the lights flickered. Computer voice. Warning. External signal detected. Unknown origin. What now? Jackson muttered. He ran back to the cockpit. The monitor showed something new. 3 unknown ships moving fast, heading straight for them. Computer voice. Ships approaching. 30 seconds to contact. Jackson swore under his breath. They followed her. The girl appeared in the doorway, barely able to stand. You have to run, she said. They'll kill you too. Jackson stared at her. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know what she had done. But her eyes, they weren't lying. Hang on, he said, flipping switches. I didn't come all the way out here to die today. He hit the emergency thrusters. The ship jerked and shot into deep space, engines roaring. Behind them, the enemy ships turned to follow. As they flew into the black unknown, the alien girl collapsed beside him. What's your name? Jackson asked. She looked at him, barely awake. Lyra, she whispered. My name is Lyra. Then her eyes closed again. Jackson stared ahead, hands tight on the controls. What have I just picked up? He whispered. The stars outside blurred as the chase began. She was not who she said she was. The ship was silent again. Too silent. Captain Jackson Reed sat in the medical bay, watching the alien girl sleep in the scanner bed. Her name was Lyra. Or at least, that's what she said. But something wasn't right. He tapped the scanner screen again. Readings danced across it. Her heart rate was fast but steady. Oxygen levels normal. But deeper scans showed something strange inside her chest, a small device, hidden behind bone and tissue. It didn't look like any medical implant. Jackson frowned. Computer voice. Foreign tech detected. Energy signature unstable. "What the hell are you carrying, Lyra?" he whispered. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. Those glowing violet eyes locked onto him again. Where are we?" she asked weakly. "Safe for now," Jackson replied. "We jumped to a blind spot in the asteroid field. They can't track us here." She sat up slowly, holding her side in pain. Jackson crossed his arms. "I need answers. Who's chasing you?" Her face tensed. "They're called the Valtari. They don't forgive. They don't forget." Jackson leaned closer. "And why are the Valtari chasing you?" Lyra looked away. "I escaped." "Escaped what?" he snapped. A pause. "A lab," she whispered. "I was grown, built maybe. They called us weapons, but we looked like people." Jackson's eyes narrowed. "You're a bioweapon?" She nodded slowly. He stepped back. His hand moved instinctively toward his sidearm. Lyra saw it and flinched. "I'm not dangerous." "Not to you," she said quickly. "I never wanted to hurt anyone." Jackson's mind raced. He had heard rumors about Valtari science, cloning, genetic mods, experiments. But this was proof. And he had it sitting in his ship. "That thing inside you," he said, pointing to the scanner. "What is it?" Lyra's face went pale. "It's a tracker," she admitted. "But it's more than that. If it's activated, it turns me into something else." Jackson's heart skipped a beat. "What kind of something?" She didn't answer. Outside, the ship shuddered. Computer voice. "Minor external pulse detected. Origin unknown." Jackson ran to the cockpit. A ripple in space blinked. On the radar, a shadow moving through the asteroid field. "Too fast, too quiet. Damn it," he muttered. "They're already scanning the rocks." He returned to the medbay. Lyra stood now, arms crossed, trying to hide her fear. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Hours. Maybe less," she said. "If they get close enough, the tracker will activate by itself." "And then what?" She looked him straight in the eye. "I don't know what I become. I've never seen it. They never let us survive the transformation." Jackson felt cold. He had a choice now. Eject her into space, maybe save himself. Or trust her, disable the tracker and risk waking up something that might destroy his entire ship. He hated choices like this. "Can we remove it?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "Not without shutting down my nervous system. It's wired into me. If you try to cut it out while I'm awake, it'll trigger." He stared at her, thinking, then nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "We'll do it my way." 30 minutes later, Lyra lay back in the medbed again. The ship's AI had prepared a sedative strong enough to knock her out fully. Jackson had studied the scanner map. The tracker was small but placed deep. He would have to work fast. He stood over her, needle in hand. "This'll knock you out for exactly 9 minutes," he said. "If I'm not done by then, run," she finished, smiling faintly. "Not funny. I wasn't joking." He injected the sedative. Lyra's eyes closed slowly. Jackson exhaled. "All right," he whispered. "Let's get this demon out of you." The scanner projected a 3D image over her chest. Using micro tools, he made a tiny cut near her ribs. Slowly, carefully, he moved toward the device. It pulsed softly with a blue light. 2 minutes passed. Jackson wiped the sweat off his forehead. 5 minutes. "Almost there," he muttered. But then, computer voice. "Alert. Unauthorized scan detected. Cloaked drone within 500 meters. No, no, no," Jackson cursed. "Not now." The light on the tracker inside Lyra blinked faster. Computer voice. Energy spike detected in foreign device. Jackson had to choose. Keep going, or pull out now, and run. He clenched his jaw. I'm finishing this. He reached in with the extractor, locked onto the tracker's tip, and pulled. The tracker clicked once, and then it stopped blinking. Computer voice. Foreign device deactivated, subject stable. Jackson slumped back, breathing hard. Got you, he whispered. He placed the device in a stasis box and shut it tight. Later, Lyra woke up with a sharp breath. Jackson stood nearby, holding the sealed box. It's out, he said. You're free now. She looked at him with wide eyes. You could have run. Yeah, he said. But I didn't. A pause. Then the ship's alarm blared again. Computer voice. Valtari beacon ping received. Fleet inbound. Jackson looked out the window. 6 ships. Closing fast. Guess they're not done chasing you. Lyra stood beside him. Then maybe it's time we stop running. Jackson grinned. Now that's the spirit. The silent enemy. The Valtari fleet was still 20 minutes away, but the danger felt closer than that. Captain Jackson Reed stood in front of the sealed container holding the alien tracker. It sat on a table in his lab, glowing softly like a sleeping eye. Beside him, Lyra stared at it with a mix of fear and hatred. This thing hunted me my whole life, she whispered. Even when I slept, I could feel it breathing inside me. Jackson nodded slowly. Well, now it's in a box. Can't breathe on anyone anymore. But he didn't tell her the full truth. The device was still active, just sleeping. And something inside it was still alive. 10 minutes later, Jackson moved back to the cockpit. The Valtari ships were holding formation just outside scanner range. They hadn't moved since the last ping. Too quiet. Too still. This isn't normal, he muttered. Computer voice. Enemy ships not responding to communication. No weapons. Powered. No active scans. So why are they just sitting there? Lyra walked in behind him. They're not here to fight, she said. They're waiting for something. Jackson looked at her. Waiting for what? She looked down at her hands. Me. Suddenly the ship's lights flickered. The screens blinked and glitched. Computer voice. Malfunction detected. Internal systems under cyber attack. Jackson jumped to the console. Code was scrolling across the display. Symbols he didn't recognize. It wasn't human, it wasn't even Valtari. It was something else. He froze. They're not hacking us from outside, he whispered. They're hacking us from inside. His eyes snapped to the tracker box in the lab. No. He ran. The sealed box was open, but not broken, opened, clean, smooth, as if invited. The tracker inside was gone. Jackson's heart pounded. He spun around, drawing his sidearm. Lyra, he shouted into the comm. It's out. The tracker is out. Before she could answer, something moved in the shadows. A low hum, like a whisper crawling through metal. The lights dimmed again. A shape stood in the corner of the lab, not fully solid, not fully machine. It shimmered like smoke, but its eyes glowed sharp and red. Jackson aimed. Who the hell are you? The shape tilted its head. No mouth, no voice. But Jackson heard it in his mind. You woke me. Jackson fired. The bullets passed through it like mist. He backed out fast, locking the door behind him. Lyra, meet me in the engine room. Now. Engine room. Lyra arrived seconds later. She looked different, more alert, more focused. Her hands crackled slightly with blue energy. You saw it, she said. Yeah. What the hell is it? That's the real weapon, she said. Not the tracker, that thing. So what is it? A silent hunter. Valtari made them to track and kill rogue bioweapons. They don't speak, they don't stop, they don't leave survivors. Jackson stared at her. And you just had one inside your chest for years? Yes, she said. But now it's free. Jackson clenched his fists. How do we stop it? We don't, she said softly. But maybe we can trap it again. He nodded. We'll lure it to the engine core. I'll flood the room with plasma. It'll burn everything, even shadows. What if it takes me down with it? She asked. Jackson looked at her. Then I'll go in first. The trap they moved carefully. Jackson carried a pulse grenade. Lyra moved like she could feel the walls breathing. Suddenly, cold air swept over them. The creature stepped out of the ceiling, or through it. Like smoke and machine mixed together. No footsteps, just a silent presence. Jackson threw the grenade. Flash. Nothing. The creature simply reformed. Lyra stepped forward, her skin glowing brighter now. Power building in her palms. I remember now, she said. Jackson turned to her. What? They made me part of it. Half human, half hunter. But my mind was too strong. I stayed me. And now? He asked. Now I let that part wake up. Her eyes turned white. Energy blasted from her chest. The creature stopped. For the first time reacting with fear, it reached toward her, and Lyra reached back. For a moment they merged. Jackson watched in horror as both glowed, wrapped in light and shadows, screaming silently. Then, boom. The creature exploded into dust. The lights blew out, the ship rocked. Jackson ran forward. Lyra lay on the floor unconscious. He lifted her carefully. You did it, he said. You controlled it. Her eyes opened slowly. I don't know how long I can keep doing that, she whispered. Jackson smiled weakly. Then I guess we'll have to teach you how. Final scene. Bridge. The Valtari ships disappeared from the scanner. Vanished without a fight. Computer voice. Enemy vessels retreated. Jackson sat in the pilot's chair exhausted. Lyra sat beside him wrapped in a thermal blanket. They saw what happened, she said. They're scared of me now. Good, Jackson replied. Maybe now they'll leave us alone. She looked at him. They won't. Jackson sighed. Then let them come. Truth and betrayal. The silence after battle always felt heavier than the fight itself. The ship floated quietly in the shadow of a dying moon. Jackson sat in the cockpit, staring out into the dark. Everything outside looked calm. But inside him, nothing was calm. Behind him, Lyra stood with her arms crossed, watching him closely. You haven't said much since the fight, she said softly. Jackson didn't look at her. I'm still thinking. She nodded. You're wondering if you should have let me burn with that thing. Yeah, he admitted. I am. Hours earlier, data logs. Jackson had searched the ship's black box after the hunter was destroyed. Something felt off. How had Valtari found them so fast? How did that shadow creature open the locked containment box? He found the answer. A transmission. Short, encrypted, sent from inside the ship, sent from Lyra. He stared at the message. It wasn't a distress call. It was a location ping. Simple. Quiet. Deadly. His hands trembled. Present Jackson finally turned toward her. You sent them our coordinates. Lyra said nothing. Her eyes stayed locked on his. Tell me I'm wrong. A long pause. You're not, she whispered. Jackson stood up so fast the chair slammed into the wall. Why? Why would you do that? I saved your life. Lyra didn't flinch. Because they had someone. Who? Another like me. Younger. They called her 73. I called her little sister. Jackson's anger froze. You're saying they blackmailed you? Lyra nodded slowly. They said if I didn't send a signal, they'd burn her alive. I believed them. They always do what they promise, especially the evil things. Jackson rubbed his face, pacing the floor. So you risked my life, the ship, everything, just to maybe save someone you don't even know is alive? No, she said firmly. I know she's alive. I feel her. Same blood, same mind. You should have told me. Would you have helped? Jackson didn't answer. Later, Jackson's quarters, he sat on his bed, holding his sidearm. He hadn't spoken to her in 2 hours. The silence stretched between them like a canyon. He remembered his days in the war. Back then, betrayal was simple. Black and white. Shoot or get shot. But this was gray. Too gray. A knock. It was Lyra. "I'm leaving," she said. "What? You don't trust me anymore. I can feel it. And if you're thinking about killing me, you wouldn't be the first." Jackson stood up. "Don't be dramatic. I'm serious. Open the airlock. I'll take the escape pod. I'll find her myself." Jackson stared at her. She looked calm. Too calm. Like she'd made peace with dying. And somehow, that hurt more than the betrayal itself. "You don't get to decide the end of this story," he said. "Why not?" "Because it's my ship." Next day, decrypted Valtari Phil Jackson finally did something he hadn't done before. He used the tracker device. Not as a weapon, as a key. Valtari tech was locked to biosignal ID. And since the tracker came from Lyra, it unlocked something hidden deep inside their communication logs. Jackson read the file slowly. What he found made his blood run cold. Lyra hadn't been made in a single lab. She was part of a project. Echo Chamber, a breeding program. Hundreds of genetically enhanced beings. Cloned, fused with void energy, programmed for infiltration. Emotion was a side effect, not a design feature. And Jackson saw it. Her face. Again. Again. Dozens of times. Same hair, same eyes, same body, but not the same soul. He realized something else. If Valtari wanted her back so badly, it wasn't to destroy her. It was to fix her, to turn her back into what she was meant to be. Confrontation. Jackson called her to the bridge. She came quietly, eyes tired, body still healing. "Project Echo Chamber," he said. "You knew?" She nodded. "Not at first. I remembered more after the hunter woke up. Memories came back in pieces. I wasn't supposed to feel them. But they're mine now." Jackson walked closer. "You're not just a person. You're a blueprint. A weapon they lost. And now they want to fix their mistake." "And I'm tired of being their mistake," she said. He looked at her again. Really looked. The fear was gone. The guilt too. She was something else now. Stronger. And more alone than ever. "Then we're not running anymore," he said. "We're going to find your sister. And we're going to tear down whoever's holding her." Lyra's eyes widened. "You'd do that after everything?" Jackson sighed. "Truth is, I don't trust you." She looked away. "But I don't trust them even more." Final scene. Hidden Valtari signal. The ship's computer beeped. New signal detected. Origin. Unknown. Human language detected. Jackson played the message. A girl's voice. Weak. Shaking. "If anyone hears this, I'm Unit 73. They took Lyra. Please, help me. I don't want to disappear." Jackson and Lyra stared at each other. "She's alive," Lyra whispered. Jackson nodded. "Then let's go get her. Escape or die location. Valtari Dead Zone, edge of Dark Sector 19. The air inside Midnight Ray felt heavier than usual. The stars outside looked distant, blurred behind a radiation fog clouding this forbidden sector of space. Captain Jackson Reed leaned forward in his chair, eyes scanning a strange signal, one that didn't belong to any known transmission band. Computer voice. Unknown signal detected. Human language. Encrypted source. Jackson played it again. A voice. Young. Weak. Familiar. "This is Unit 73. Please, they said she's gone, they told me. Lyra is dead. I don't believe them, please." The signal cut off with a metallic screech. Lyra stood behind him, fists clenched. "It's her," she said. "She's still alive." Jackson looked at the nav map. The signal's coming from a facility orbiting a fractured planet. Not on any chart. "Because it's not a planet," Lyra said. "It's a lab." 30 minutes later, approach the closer they got, the more the stars disappeared. The lab floated above what looked like a broken world, shattered like glass with black clouds swirling around its cracked core. Jackson's scanners went dark. Computer voice. "Warning, signal interference. Stealth field detected. Active tracking. Offline. Jackson narrowed his eyes. They're hiding more than a lab down there. They don't expect us to come this far, Lyra said. No one ever does. Jackson checked the engine core. This trip will drain our fuel. We get one shot. After that, we either get out with your sister, or we don't get out at all. Inside the Valtteri facility, infiltration, they landed the ship behind a shattered rock tower, using manual thrusters to stay hidden. The airlock opened with a hiss, releasing a thick black mist. Radiation meters beeped but stayed within survivable levels. For now, Jackson carried a compact pulse rifle. Lyra, dressed in stealth armor, moved like a shadow. Her glowing eyes pierced the dark corridors of the lab. They slipped through rusted metal doors, past sleeping machines and motionless drones. But something wasn't right. It's too quiet, Jackson whispered. Lyra stopped. They want us in here. Suddenly, the floor shook. Lights flickered. A voice echoed through the walls, distorted, metallic, and cold. Welcome back, Subject 11. We've been waiting for you. Lyra froze. That voice. I remember it. Jackson raised his weapon. Then we keep moving. They turned a corner, and there she was, a glass chamber. Inside, a young girl with silver hair and violet eyes, just like Lyra. Her arms were wrapped around her knees. She looked small, fragile. Jackson moved toward the control panel. Lyra hesitated. Wait, what? He asked. Look. He looked closer. The girl's eyes were glowing, but wrong. Not soft violet, but red, like fire. A trap. The chamber cracked open. The girl stood up slowly. Her voice echoed, not with fear, but with command. You left me, Lyra. Lyra stepped back. No, that's not her. That's not 73. The figure's body shifted, bones cracking, limbs stretching. Her face melted into something monstrous, half girl, half machine, a mimic. Jackson, run. Escape sequences irons blared. The lab came alive. Drones dropped from the ceiling. Turrets emerged from the walls. Jackson and Lyra ran down a metal corridor, dodging gunfire, slipping between shadows. Jackson fired shots behind them, but the mimic didn't slow. It moved like a shadow, screeching in rage. Computer voice from Jackson's wristcom. Autopilot countdown initiated, 10 minutes until launch. We don't have 10 minutes, Jackson shouted. There's a shortcut, Lyra said. Maintenance, shaft to the lower platform. Jackson nodded. Lead the way. They dropped into a vertical tunnel, climbing down broken rungs. The metal creaked with every step. Above them, the mimic roared. Emergency hangar. Final confrontation. They reached the hangar. Midnight Ray stood ready, engines warming. The mimic crashed through the wall above, leaping down with inhuman speed. Jackson pushed Lyra toward the ship. Go, I'll hold it back. No, she yelled. You have to find your real sister. This isn't your fight anymore. Lyra's eyes blazed. Every fight that touches her is mine. She turned and faced the mimic. Power surged through her hands. Her form shifted slightly. Still Lyra, but something more. Energy clashed. Light and shadow exploded across the hangar. Jackson fired from behind cover, targeting weak points. Sparks flew. Smoke choked the air. Lyra screamed and struck with full force. The mimic shattered into pieces. Glowing wires snapped. Metal flesh collapsed to the ground. Jackson grabbed her, pulling her toward the ramp. Computer voice. Launching in 20 seconds. They dove into the ship. Doors sealed. Engines roared. Midnight Ray blasted out of the hangar just as the entire facility began to explode behind them. Flames rose from the fractured planet. Debris scattered into orbit after escape. Silence again. They floated through space, bruised, breathless. Lyra sat on the floor, eyes closed, shaking. Jackson handed her water. You okay? She nodded. Wasn't her, she said. But she's close. I felt the real one. Just before the explosion. Then we'll find her, Jackson promised. And this time we go in smarter. Lyra looked at him with tired, Eyes. We escaped, she said. Jackson shook his head. No, he said. We survived. Escaping comes next. Outside the ship, the stars were quiet again, but they both knew this was far from over. Her secret power location, unknown sector, drifting between asteroid fields, the ship floated through dead space, silent and bruised, much like its crew. Captain Jackson Reed sat alone in the cockpit. Outside the window, asteroid debris slowly passed, spinning like forgotten memories. Behind him, Lyra was unconscious. Again. It had been hours since their escape from the trap facility. Her pulse was faint. Her body had not stopped glowing. But something had changed this time. The glow wasn't just inside her skin. It was burning through her. Medical bay. 30 minutes later, Jackson paced the room, frustration crawling through him like fire under his skin. The med scanner flashed unstable readings. Computer voice. Subject Lyra. Critical status. Unknown energy buildup increasing. Risk of bio-burnout, 84%. Jackson slammed a hand on the console. What's causing it? No answer. Lyra coughed and woke with a sharp gasp. Her eyes glowed brighter than before, blinding white. For a second, they weren't even eyes. Just light. Get away from me, she whispered. Jackson stepped back. Lyra, I can't hold it anymore, she said, voice shaking. I feel everything, every thought, every star, every scream that ever touched me. He moved closer. Lyra, listen, this isn't you losing control. This is the power they tried to bury. You're stronger than this. She looked up, pain on her face. No, Jackson, I'm not stronger. I'm becoming something else. Flashback. Inside Lyra's mind, she was standing in a long white hallway. Glass tubes lined the walls, each one holding a version of her. Younger, older, broken, burned, perfect. A voice echoed behind her. You are not a person. You are a design. Version 11. The most unstable. The most dangerous. She turned. A figure stood at the end of the hall, cloaked in shadow. We gave you a heart, the voice said, and that was our mistake. Then everything exploded into light. Back in the ship, Lyra screamed. Energy burst from her body, shattering the glass panel in the med bay. Alarms blared across the ship. Computer voice. Containment breach. Energy core destabilizing. Jackson rushed in. The walls were shaking. Her body hovered mid-air, wrapped in a storm of raw power. Lyra, he shouted. She opened her eyes. I can hear the Valtari, she whispered. They're inside my head, not just watching, controlling. They want me to burn. Jackson grabbed. The emergency injector hit her with a neural stabilizer. The light dimmed. She collapsed. But in that moment, Jackson saw something terrifying, etched on the back of her neck. A Valtari command code, not just a tracker. A kill switch. Next day, decrypted signal. Jackson worked nonstop. He dug into the files stolen from the lab before it blew. There, buried deep, was the truth he feared. Project Echo Chamber wasn't just about building weapons. It was about unlocking something ancient. Before the Valtari ruled space, before even humans evolved, there was a race known only as the Forgotten, Flame, beings made entirely of energy. Legend said they vanished. The Valtari didn't believe that. They believed the flame hid inside matter, and their plan was to revive them by planting fragments in living bodies. Lyra was one of those vessels. She wasn't just a weapon. She was a key. Jackson's log. They built her from human genes. They mixed her with void tech and flame code. They didn't just want power. They wanted to wake something sleeping. And now, I think it's waking. Emergency. Valtari fleet arrival. Just as Jackson finished the log, the ship's alarm blared. Computer voice. Long-range scan. Valtari warship. Detected. Approach velocity 1200 AUS. Arrival in 5 minutes. Jackson ran to the cockpit. Outside, space was tearing open, a ripple like a black wave. They weren't just sending scouts this time. They were sending the collector. a Valtari supervessel used to retrieve lost experiments. Lyra woke up, sensing it. "They're not here to destroy me," she said. Jackson looked at her. "No, they're here to activate you." Final confrontation. Choice. The Valtari ship sent a message directly into the Midnight Ray's systems. A voice spoke. Cold, calm, confident. "Lyra, 11, stand by for command link. The ascension begins now." Lyra fell to her knees. Light poured. From her skin she was transforming again, not by choice, by command. Jackson aimed a shock rifle at her. "Lyra, fight it." She looked at him, eyes glowing white, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I can't. It hurts." Jackson walked closer. "You can. Not because they built you strong, but because you chose your own path," she screamed, and the energy cracked. Her body dropped limp. The light stopped. A single breath. Then she stood up, and her voice was calm, but not cold. Strong. Hers. "I broke the link." Jackson stared. "How?" "Because you were right," she said. "They gave me a heart, and that was their greatest mistake." Preparation. The Valtari ship began to power up weapons. Jackson looked at Lyra. "You broke free, but they'll come again." "Let them," she said. "Next time I'll be ready." He smiled. "What now?" She stepped to the window, watching the stars. "Now. We stop running. The choice location, unknown sector, Valtari warfront perimeter." The stars trembled. Midnight Ray hovered just beyond the edge of Valtari-controlled space. Behind them, silence. Ahead of them, a war. On the scanners, a massive fleet loomed like a mechanical mountain. Towers of black metal, engines of fire, drones in the thousands. And in the center, a construct the size of a city, the Valtari Ascension Core. It wasn't just a ship. It was the altar where the Valtari would try to awaken the flame within Lyra and unleash it across the galaxy. They didn't want a war. They wanted godhood. Inside the ship, Jackson adjusted the last coordinates into the nav system. The plan was suicidal, but simple. Sneak past the Valtari shield ring dock directly onto the Ascension Core's fusion tower. Upload the virus he'd written using stolen tech force a meltdown escape. If they were lucky, Lyra sat across from him, arms crossed, quiet, not afraid, but distant. She hadn't spoken much since breaking the link in Part 6. Her energy was stable, but changed. Brighter, colder, older. Jackson noticed it. "You okay?" he asked. She looked up, eyes glowing faintly. "No, but I will be." Flashback. Her vision. The flame inside her spoke in dreams. "You were meant to burn the stars, not save them. You were built for obedience, not mercy. Choose, Lyra. Become fire, or fade as a spark." She had seen herself floating in empty space, entire planets turned to ash in her hands. But also a small voice. A memory. Jackson's voice. "You choose who you are, not them." Present. The final infiltration, they entered Valtari space under a cloaked signal. The moment they breached the shield ring, sirens inside the ship wailed. Computer voice. "Detection alert. Incoming fire in 20 seconds. Hold steady," Jackson growled, hands tight on the controls. They darted between plasma beams, weaving through debris fields. The ship shook violently as one blast clipped the left engine. "We're not gonna make it," Lyra shouted. Jackson smiled. "We don't have to make it. Just crash in the right place." Impact. Ascension Tower the Midnight Ray slammed into. The fusion ring of the Valtari core. Metal screamed. Fire poured from ruptured walls. Jackson's head slammed into the console. Blood blurred his vision. Lyra pulled him from the chair. "Come on," she shouted. "We still have to get to the core node." Inside the tower, final corridor, they ran through endless corridors of shifting light and living metal. Valtari drones chased from behind, firing beams of pure sound. Lyra covered their escape with bursts of energy, but she was weakening fast. Jackson reached the fusion node, plugged in the virus chip. Countdown started. 3 minutes to overload. They turned to run. But standing at the exit, waiting for them, was a Valtari Prime. Not a drone. Not a commander, but a being of pure energy and steel. Its voice was like a planet speaking. You've defied us long enough. Surrender the vessel. Become the flame. Lyra stepped forward. Jackson tried to stop her. No, I have to, she said. They're not after us. They're after what's in me. If I stay, you escape. Lyra, don't do this. She looked at him. A soft smile. Jackson, you're the only reason I ever believed I was more than a weapon. She walked toward the Prime. Jackson drew his pistol. Useless, he knew, and aimed anyway. We leave together, he said. Lyra stopped. A tear ran down her cheek. Then hold on. The transformation? She closed her eyes. The flame inside her woke, fully. Light poured from her body like a sun collapsing. The Valtari Prime screamed as its metal form cracked and melted under the energy. Jackson shielded his eyes, blinded by the brilliance. Lyra wasn't just energy now. She was will. A voice echoed across the entire tower. I choose. Aftermath. 2 days later, Jackson woke up on a rescue cruiser, burns on his face, cracked ribs. The Valtari core was gone. Overloaded from within, scans showed no survivors, no signal, no Lyra. Final log. Captain Jackson read the Valtari retreated. Maybe because they lost their temple, maybe because they lost their god. But me? I lost someone who wasn't even supposed to exist. But she chose her own fate. And maybe that's the most human thing of all. Final scene. Deep space on a far-off moon where no ship ever travels. A figure stands barefoot under alien stars. Long silver hair. Violet eyes. Alive. Changed. Lyra. She looks up at the sky. Whispers, Jackson, I'm still here. And vanishes into light.